Well, hello and welcome everyone again back into the collaboration space where today we're going to continue our conversation on the return to the office. And we've seen some acceleration with that. Most of us, are looking at a 3-day in the office schedule, 2 days flexible. But there was some news this week where Amazon is asking everyone to come back 5 days a week starting in January. So we're definitely seeing that shift continue where everybody wants to collaborate in the office space. And we're going to be talking about some of the technology that makes high impact spaces really productive, not only with those in the office, but then again, connecting to our remote teammates. So I have two people joining me today. The first is Cara Shannon from Crestron. Welcome, Cara. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. So, thank you for having us on here today.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you joining me. And also with Cara, also from Crestron, is Joel Mulpeter. Joel, how's everything going?
Yeah, going great, Nancy. Thank you for organizing this and happy to share our thoughts.
Perfect. So we talked a little bit about how we want to create these high impact spaces that really encourage us back to the office, but still create those natural connections with remote teammates and let us act naturally in the office. So, Cara, can you talk a little bit about how Crestron Sightline experience that we're all looking at right now helps us do just that?
Yeah, of course. So with your high impact spaces, you want to make sure that you're able to prioritize the in-person experience, but that you're also going to have a good experience for those people who may be still attending remote. While a lot of people may be coming, back to the office, there's still going to be people who are traveling office to office are going to be communicating to each other. And it's important that you have technology in the room that can facilitate that experience that is equal in person and for the remote participants.
And when we talk,
So,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, if you were ready to talk about Sightline, we were going to maybe chat about, what types of spaces are really ideal for Sightline.
So you're going to typically see those in your executive boardrooms, some of your larger spaces where you want to entice people to come in and use those spaces and have a good amount of people in those rooms. Would you like to add anything to that, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, high impact summarizes the key spaces. We see things like Sightline deployed in those style of spaces, but high impact, the way we tend to refer to it at Crestron is spaces that are, high in value to the company. And that value comes in two ways. They're either a large space where a lot of people can gather. People are the most expensive asset in a company, we believe. And then the second is just ones that take up premium or large amounts of real estate. So executive boardrooms are important pieces of real estate where important decisions are made, as are big open areas in reception of an office. They're physically large spaces that are also important. So that to us is high impact, and those kind of spaces are perfect for the Sightline experiences and especially multi-camera with Automate VX.
And Kara, I can see, along with what Joel was saying with the technology, I see multiple monitors in the room. I see the camera in the center table. Can you maybe kick us off and take us on a little technology tour of this room?
Yeah, definitely. So when we talk about the Sightline experience from Crestron, we are talking about bringing together different product groups across the Crestron ecosystem to create an experience like this. So I'll kick it off with talking a little bit about the intelligent video technology that we have here in the room. What we are using is the Automate VX multi-camera speaker tracking system. That is going to switch between the different cameras that you see here in the room. In this particular room, we have the One Beyond P12 cameras, plus we do have an i20 camera that has built-in presenter tracking. All of those cameras connect into the Automate VX system. That's going to be providing this switching and compositing that you're seeing here. So as Joel and I go back and forth, you'll see it switch between us. You're also able to see this nice full view of the room, so you have some context in the space. The Automate VX output will go into your Crestron Flex system for a one-touch meeting join. And Joel will talk about some of the other equipment in the room.
Yes, and we also have, as you mentioned, Nancy, lots of displays around this room, right? And that is really all to do with where we have the cameras placed. We want displays so people are naturally talking to the content. I can see your face in front of me right now, even though it's not necessarily the front of the room. The front of the room's over here. But that lets me have a natural conversation without having to, look around and know which display to look at. And those displays here were powered by Crestron MBX. So we're doing AV over IP in this space. And that is taking all the sources, including the conference, and putting it onto these, in this case, 7 displays in this room. But it's also giving us the freedom to change that. Obviously with Crestron control, under the hood, we can change any of these displays to be anything we want. So the normal mode is 2 displays on most walls, and we have, the call and a feed of the camera like you would in any kind of Zoom call. If we're presenting content would be on one display and the gallery on the other. But we can also change that. We can pop, one single source on all these displays if we want to, if everyone's in person, or we can go to the Zoom call, which is running on Crestron Flex. So there is a lot of flexibility in these spaces with how we want it to suit the workflow of what's happening in the room itself. And that really is that flexibility of AV over IP, conferencing, in this case on Zoom or could be on Teams, and then Crestron control, serving all those options up in an easy to use user interface and reacting to things that happen in the room itself.
Perfect. So it sounds like, I loved how you mentioned flexibility, where maybe everyone still is in the office, but then I can still use all of the tech in that room to make that meeting even more immersive. So I love that it's multifunctional, because we see a lot of flex spaces around today as well, including the larger boardrooms. Cara, what can you share with us about some feedback about this room or other Sightline rooms from either your teammates or customers?
Yeah, so this is an experience that we have set up in several of our offices throughout Crestron, as well as, we've done some cool events on trade show floors as well. And being in the room with people when they first see it, they are really impressed with how easy it is to act naturally, how you can see the remote participants so clearly and be able to, notice if they want to be in the conversation and all of those nonverbal communication. Also, particularly the monitors when content is shared, it becomes, really clear to be able to see that. You're not, looking this way. When there's, only one monitor up at the front, particularly in some of these larger spaces, that's something that people really like.
Perfect. And I actually really liked when you and Joel were talking and the camera switched for me. So I'm looking both of you in the eye when I'm talking to you. It makes that real easy for us to communicate on that human level. So when we talk about the camera switching and Automate VX, what are some of the other uses of that and maybe some other spaces that Crestron would recommend using that technology?
Yeah, so we see this technology in a lot of the high impact spaces that may not resemble exactly this room that we typically outfit as a Sightline space. It might be a classroom, a training room, a 3-way divisible space. But some of those elements that we have within Sightline, so obviously Automate VX and the multiple monitors, those can translate and provide a really great experience in those spaces as well.
Perfect. And I want to point out, Cara and Joel, that Crestron and AVI-SPL are working together on an event in your New York Experience Center where people can go and actually, experience the Sightline setup in person. And we're actually going to be running a meeting between the New York Experience Center and the New Jersey Experience Center. So people are going to be able to get to see this in action. And for all of our listeners, I will put that link for you in the show notes. If you are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut metro area, I welcome you to stop by and check this out in person. Also, we talk a lot about the amount of technology in the room, and we certainly want that to be easy to use. You mentioned the one-touch join. We also want the equipment to be up and running always when somebody walks into the room, and that's where Crestron and AVI-SPL also work together with our services, making sure that everything is always online and ready to use. So that's also an option for everyone. So Joel, I want to open it up back to you for a minute and see if there's anything else you'd like to share about Sightline or anything else, Crestron.
I think you point out some really important points there, is that these spaces and a lot of high impact spaces are technology heavy. There is a lot of technology in these spaces, and it's really good to put a lot of technology in spaces. The question is, who are the users and what are the workflows that happen in the room? And if technology gets in the way of people doing what they just want to do in that room, it won't get utilized. It'll be a barrier. We see this especially in places like education, where people conducting what's happening in that room are not technology experts, and they're not supposed to be. So it needs to be that the technology enhances the meeting in place, and that just becomes natural to use. So we believe quite strongly that the room should react to things that happen in the room by itself, autonomous control. And then there's a need to serve up a certain amount of that control on things like touch panels as well, that's in an easy to understand format. So making sure that the workflow on that touch panel is easy to use. And yeah, I think a great point on monitoring there as well. Like, we want proactive monitoring in these rooms, right? A user shouldn't have to experience something's broken. The system should inform that something's broken, so that someone like AVI-SPL can go and roll trucks and address that issue, or talk to someone on site and address that issue. So proactive, preemptive, whatever you want to call it, but proactive monitoring of the spaces is super important as well.
Sounds good. Thanks, Joel. And Cara, any last thoughts?
I think that this is a technology that really is something you need to be able to see and experience. So, as Nancy mentioned, going and seeing it in our showrooms and being on the far end experience like you are now is a really great way to understand the Sightline experience.
Wonderful. Sounds great. And to our listeners, I will, like I said, make sure to put that link to our New York event in the show notes for you. And also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode of the Collaboration Space. And if you prefer the audio version, or if you're driving along like I am and you want to listen in, you can search for the Collaboration Space on your favorite podcast app. And with that, thank you, Cara. Thank you, Joel. It was a pleasure to see you both today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Nancy.
You're very welcome. I'll talk to you soon. And to all of our listeners, have a great day, and we'll see you next time in the Collaboration Space. For more information, visit avispl.com/Crestron.